Good morning, folks. Hopefully everyone can hear me and see my screen. I'm starting with ES. We've had this nice rally up. In the past, we had a 4-hour squeeze and a daily squeeze that fired to the upside, fired into the contract changeover, and got up to a new all-time high of 55.88. And we've kind of just drifted back to the blue line, which is the daily 8. And now we have another 4-hour squeeze in play. These clouds represent the 4-hour squeeze top and bottom. We can see on Friday we hit the top and sold off back down to the bottom where we're settling now near the daily 8. Simple premise is this 4-hour squeeze could fire up just like the last one. We'd need to hold the bottom around 55.10, get back up to the top around that 55.65 and above to fire up to new all-time highs. The other scenario being that we can't hold the daily 8 at about 55.30 or the daily 15 at 55.18. We start to lose that and fire down to visit 5500 and the daily 21, which sits at 54.86. That would fire the 4-hour squeeze down. And then it's can we hold the daily 21 and catch another bounce just like we did last time. We slipped to the 50, got back above the 21, and took off for new all-time highs. So can we hold the daily 21 and pop back up for new all-time highs again, or do we lose the daily 21 and go to visit that daily 50? Have a little profit taking. Even if we did play out that scenario and dip down to that 53.60, it'd still be setting consecutive higher lows in these little sell-offs and dips. Also looking at VIX over here, it's worth noting that we've been in a good downtrend, but every time we get near about 12 to 12.5, we seem to have these reversals and some selling and profit taking. So if we're going to have that upside scenario today, we'd want to see VIX go back to fill this gap and settle near that 12.38, 12.5, maybe even back down to 12. But if we are going to see further selling to start the week and kind of take out last week's range, let's see, Monday was about here on the low, which lines up pretty well with the 21. So if we're going to see continued selling, we'd see VIX hold this gap up and try to race back up to 13.5 or higher, marking a change of trend. One thing we'll also just look at is our system with ES. The last week or so, been pretty clean interactions, opening up, starting the cash session above open, dipping down to hold open and race back up. Retest of that area off of our purple midline to bounce back up. On Thursday yet again, just held open, caught bounces, caught that gap up, and we hit our destination sell zone and see the reversal back down all the way to our destination buy zone. So now we're going to be opening in Friday's range. Let's see if we get an inside day and some consolidation. Let's see if there's further selling and rejection near that 55.40 to go down and visit 5500. Moving on to NQ. NQ, same story, held the daily 21, a tap of the daily 50 a couple of weeks ago, and a rally into the contract changeover and setting new highs, then drifting back down to in between our daily 8 and daily 15. Still trying to hold daily 8 and 15 as they're getting very tight on each other at the bottom of this 4-hour squeeze. So can NQ continue to hold above you know, call it 19,800 up to about 19,900. Is that right? Yeah, 19,900. If we can hold that support, we could see further push to get back up to 20,200, 20,400, where that third Keltner sits. If we start to lose that 19,800, then it's a dip to the 21 at 19,700. Should that start to give out, then it's down to the next daily Keltners, and that daily 50 is sitting right at the third Keltner to the downside. Even getting down there and bouncing again, consecutive higher lows. And we'll look at NQ over here, and just grab last week at least. Same deal as ES. NQ's been trying to lead the upside. But, you know, during the cash session has been kind of mute. Been making a lot of the overnight moves to get places. On Friday, we saw the hold of the overnight open at the cash session open, rally up to that destination sell zone, and then a dip back down to the daily 8 and pretty much that destination buy zone. Looks like we are basically opening in the same range. We did set an overnight low a little bit below Friday's low, but we've caught a bounce from there. So let's see if we continue to hold that 19,900, or if we're going to dip down to get this destination buy zone down near the daily 15. If we do get a dip down there, it's worth a little shot to the upside to see if we can continue to hold. But if we lose that 19,800, then we're going to be targeting down to the 21 at 19. That's 600. I need to change a setting real quick. And for those that don't know, if you do have strange gaps after the contracts, you can hit that button for it to try to adjust. So let's see if we can hold up above that 19,800 to rally back up to these recent highs, or if we're going to lose it and try to head back to the daily 21. Moving on to Ready. Yeah, definitely a mixed bag on Ready. You know, still bouncing between that 2,000, that 21.25. We have a 1 day and a 2 day squeeze settling in around all this consolidation. We did see Russell kind of break out of that consolidation on Thursday, come back to test it on Friday, and still kind of breaking out. Let's see if Ready can stay above that 2066 daily 50, 2060 daily 21, and 2050. Kind of the top of this consolidation. We start to lose 2050, then it's back down to the bottom of this daily squeeze for a test near 2020. If we can hold up and try to keep pushing, it's can we get through 2080, 2085 to come back and test these recent highs near 2113, 2112, and 2124 up at the top of the daily squeeze. We could also see some rotation where we are seeing Ready try and push up to the top of the squeeze while NQ is dipping down to test buyers, so always be ready for that. And a little bit of the same story on YM. It was definitely struggling and in some consolidation, and you know, last week and the end of the week before started to break out and try to push back up to that 40,000 big key psych level, which is at the top of a daily squeeze. We've since come back to consolidate at the daily moving averages, but we continue to hold the daily 21. So let's see if we get to this YM and Ready rotation to try and go up to the top of this daily squeeze to attempt to fire it. While we might see a dip in NQ as Ruddy and YM try to push up. Well, let's see if we lose this, call it 39,400. Then we are likely going to come back down to test key level at 39,235 at the bottom of this 4-hour squeeze. Should that start to give out, then it's a trickle down to 39,000, 38,800 at the bottom of the daily squeeze. Moving on to Apple. Apple had this insane push up after that, what is it, the Worldwide Developer Conference, WWDC, I think it was. During that event, Monday started to look weak, tagged the daily 21, and then just took off, shooting up for some huge new all-time highs on Apple. Since then, we've had dip backs, attempts to push new highs, rejections back to the daily 8 that we've been holding. So can Apple stay above 210 and hold that daily 8 to push back up to 215, 220? Or are we going to lose 210, that daily 8, and come back to 205 to test the daily 21? Should that start to give out, next target would be that first Keltner down at 200, which is starting to test, this hard breakout that we got. But overall bull flag, so not overly bearish on Apple or the market. Just always ready for those signs where we come back to find buyers, start to catch bounces, come back to find buyers, but then they give out and we get, a bunch of profit taking and rotation. Moving on to AMD. Was in a steady downtrend, but when Apple went crazy, excuse me, I guess Apple maybe started to go nuts back here, but after Apple started to calm down, chips had a nice push up, but then right back to consolidation. Could be kind of setting in a bit of a sloppy W for chips to take back off. Overall, Friday, we got back above the daily 21, and even though the market sold back off for new lows on the day, chips held up. So let's see if chips and AMD can hold above 160 where the daily 21 sits. If we can hold there, looking to get back up through 164, up to 166, and if possible beyond to the top of the daily squeeze near 168, 170. If we start to lose 160, we have the daily 50 at, call it 158.5. Should that give out, then it's down to the bottom of this 4-hour squeeze at 155.5, 155, where the first Keltner sits to the downside and the daily squeeze bottom resides. On to Amazon. After tagging a daily squeeze bottom a couple of weeks ago, we can see we've got a strong response from buyers to get back above the daily moving averages, a dip back to hold them and consolidate, some profit taking and loading up for the next move, and then we saw Amazon push back up, hold that daily 8, take off all of last week, up to this 199 and the third Keltner. And that's where we saw a response and some selling and profit taking on Friday. So let's see if we can continue to hold above Friday's lows near 192.5. Basically 192.5 up to 194, creating a zone here from, what is that, a Wednesday high to a Friday low. So 192.5 up to about 194.5, 2-point zone of support. Let's see if we can hold that, try to keep pushing up to last week's high and up to this third Keltner, which is up at 200. We start to lose that 192.5 to 194.5. Then you want to target back to the daily 8, 190.5, and then back down to the daily 21, 187. Should that give out, we're going to test that daily 50 at 184, we'll call it. Moving on, Google. looking kind of similar to Amazon, except it didn't quite get to the bottom of a daily squeeze, but held that daily 21 repeatedly. Every time it tapped it, just kept holding, so broke out of this consolidation to the upside, up to this 186.5 high that we got pre-market on Friday before coming back. So if we see further selling, I'd be targeting down to this 181.25, where the daily 8 sits with the first Keltner. If we lose that 181.25 and 180, then we'd be targeting back down to that 178 where the daily 21 sits. But if we can hold up, looking to push up through 184, 186 through Friday's high, 186.5, up to that third Keltner, which sits near 187.5. Moving on, Meta. Being XLC, very similar to Google's chart, got down near that daily squeeze bottom, got back above daily moving averages and held. On Meta, we didn't have as many tests of the daily 21 as we saw in Google, so been relatively strong with the buyers and holding above that daily 8. Last week we saw some consolidation and a tap of the daily 21, and we pushed up for those new highs early Friday morning. Fell back to the daily 15 and daily 8, so we've got a zone of liquidity, a zone of support at 504.5 up to 507, we'll call it. Let's see if that can hold. If so, trying to get back through 510, 15, 20, and push up through Friday's high to try to get up to 530, 533 where that third Keltner sits. Almost got the third Keltner a couple of weeks ago before coming back to liquidity and trying again. If we start to lose that 504 and Friday's low, you target back to the daily 21, just a hair under 500. Should that give out, you're targeting back to a couple of weeks ago's low, your 492.5, and if that were to give out, then it's down to 487, 480, where the daily 50 sits. Oh, and I've been forgetting to pop over here just to look, but we can always see a clean interaction with our beast levels. Like last Tuesday at open, dipped down to our open range buy zone, pushed up to our destination sell zone, and held it on any pullbacks. On Friday, kind of gave out pre-market, held our open range buy zone, came up to tag our purple midline, reversed back down to our destination buy zone. So pre-market, at least on Meta, a little weaker, right? We saw on most of those names, they sold off on Friday, but they're trying to gap up a little bit. Meta is gapping up, but still way below that last big drop, or the lows before that last big drop, I should say. Overall, we're back at the daily 15, daily 8, so let's see if that can hold around, I'll call it Friday's lows around 504 up to the daily 8 at 507. So let's see if we can hold that 3-point range of liquidity. If we can, trying to target back up to 510, back up to the open 517 from Friday. And if it starts to give out, back to that 500 like we just talked about. Moving on to Microsoft. Just so strong Microsoft has been. Got down to that second Keltner to the downside near 404, and just strong rally up to 450. Right now, Friday we tapped the bottom of a 4-hour squeeze near this 445, so let's see if that can continue to hold with that first Keltner to the upside. If so, targeting back to 450, 455, 56, and then that third Keltner, which is kind of up near 460. If we start to give out that 445, then you want to target down to the daily 15, 443, the daily 21 at, call it 440. And should that give out, then we're going to explore these Keltners to the downside and that daily 50 down near 422. Even if we get down there again, consecutively higher lows, the rally can continue. Moving on, look at NVIDIA. Oh, so we all know NVIDIA had it split. Kept pushing. After that, up to new highs here at 141. Then a quick hard reversion to the mean. The daily 21, which is at 119 then. And we've just been consolidating above that daily 21. We are now down and tapping at pre-market. So let's see if we can hold 120 to 121. Kind of a 1-point range around that daily 21 at the bottom of that 4-hour squeeze. If we can hold there, looking to get back to 125, 130, 135, you know. Pretty simple. If we start to lose that 120, you want to target down 117.5, 115, that recent low overnight pre-market, where the first Keltner, the downside, sits. Start to lose that 115, then you want to target down to 110, and 110, 107.5, and then 105, where the daily 50 sits. QQQ. Strong tear from that 443 and tap of that first Keltner to the downside up to 489. And then some reversions to the faster means. Got back out close on Friday to that high, but then quick rejection. And, QQQ doesn't look quite as bad as some of the other names. It's still holding that daily 8 pretty well. It's still trying to set consecutively higher lows in these after hours moves. So let's see today if we can continue to hold above Friday's lows near 478.25. And I'm sorry, I'll zoom in here. So yes, let's see if we can hold above 478.5. 479, little half point of support there. We start to lose that, then you want to target down to 477, where that 4-hour squeeze bottom sits. Should we start to lose that, and 475, you target down to 472, where the daily 21 sits. If we can continue to hold up here, or even get a dip to 477, that 4-hour squeeze bottom and a reversal, we want to target back up to where we are now, 480, 481, and then back up to the top of the squeeze at 484, 485, and try to get back to Friday's highs. Moving on to SPY. I mean, we could take a look at SPX, I suppose. Again, got down near the daily 50, then held the daily 21. That's always a bullish sign to take off and try to get to the third Keltner, right? The daily Keltners are basically standard deviations from the daily mean. So we always go to the mean and then go about 3 standard deviations away. Then we see some pullbacks, consolidations as the means come up. That can push us higher, or we can get that dip down. So let's see if we can hold that 440, daily 15, bottom of the 4-hour squeeze, or that 440, yep, or that daily 8, which will be around 54.60. If we start to lose that squeeze bottom, you want to target down to 5400, where the daily 21 sits. Should we start to give out 5400, then it's these daily Keltners as targets back to the daily 50. Moving on to SPY. And, well, actually, we'll do SPX and go over here to check out. Always such clean interactions with our beast levels, like call it this Monday. Push up to our purple midline to the upside, reverse back down to the open level and down to that open range buy zone. The next day, hold open range, buy zone, push up, come back, hold open, buy range, push up to open, sell range. And just constant reversals right near our key levels. So moving on to SPY. We've had plenty of dips to hold this 542, 543, and we're finding ourselves opening near that. So let's see if we can continue to hold that 542, 543. We start to lose 542. We're going to see a dip down to the daily 21 at 540. Should we start to lose that, we target daily Keltners back down to the daily 50. But if we can hold up that daily 21 or the squeeze bottoms, 540 to 542, then we're looking to get back up through 546, 47 and a half, 548 and a half at the top of this squeeze, which is a 4-hour, yep. And then if we can get through there, 550 up to 551, 552, where that third Keltner sits to the upside. Let's take a look at Tesla, which has definitely had a nice recovery. Very interesting off that daily squeeze bottom, that hard push up, a gap up further, daily squeeze top, and then we come back to consolidate, but that daily squeeze slowly opening up as we hold daily moving averages and pushing up higher. Still have this 2-day squeeze, but both of those are opening up to the upside. So Tesla could be building for a strong rally and recovery. It has been beaten up a little bit with bad delivery numbers and whatnot that's gone, and the rise in Chinese EVs lately. We've been below the daily 200 for quite some time, and we're approaching it. So let's see if Tesla can continue to hold above 195, this 200, to try to get up through Friday's high at 203, this daily 200 at 206, and if we can get through that to get back to other key levels, 210, 216. We are pushing up against third Keltner. That aligns pretty much right on top of that daily 200, so wouldn't be surprised to get there, see some rejections and some sideways action while kind of all of these daily moving averages correct themselves. But if we start to lose that 200, that 195, we want to target back to 190 where the daily 8 sits, and 184 where the daily 21, daily 15 sits. And that pretty much wraps it up, folks. We'll throw VIX up here just to kind of get a look at a higher level. These interactions at these key levels like I've been talking about. We've got 12, 12.38, which are key levels for me. And every time we get below that 12.38 and near 12, boom, we start getting gaps up. We start to reverse a downtrend or look like we're going to reverse a downtrend. Of course, the market's kept going higher, so we get those little bounces, and then we work our way back down slowly. But here we are with another bounce, getting very, very tight on this daily squeeze. So it could be leading to the potential of reversion to the daily 50s on like the indices. If we start to see that VIX is going to hold where it's been holding off of these daily squeeze bottoms to get back up to these daily squeeze tops, would still be in range, but we could see a big daily 2-day squeeze on VIX start to fire back up to some of these higher levels that we've, in flash sell-offs, we've seen, quick pops up to these 14.8, 15.2, and then 16.5. Just some key levels that I always keep an eye out when we're getting those sell-offs as potential points of reversal. So that's it for prep today. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll get some more preps going on a regular schedule. Just slowly getting the back of the swing of things after we had our recent baby. So if you're new to predicted trades and tuning in for maybe the first time, you can join our Discord for free. And going on for the month of July, if you're brand new to predicted trades, we're going to have a free beast tool. Our system, we've kind of dubbed a beast system, and we will have a free version of that tool for you to try out on a couple of pieces of equity like SPY and QQQ, but mainly on your options contracts. Our proprietary tool over here that plots all these key levels, even on things like VIX and ADD and whatnot, also works on options contracts. And we have plenty of examples floating around the chat of trades that we take in rallies where calls hit one of our buy levels and take off to one of our sell levels. So if you're interested in trying out a system that works on your equity as well as your options contracts, kind of one of the only systems out there that does that, feel free to join us and try it out for the month of July. But thanks for tuning in, everybody, and we'll see you in the chat.